is the chap himself. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
First of all, alternative financial product, what does it mean? Are you talking in addition to, say, the credit cards and the bank loans that we might have ordinarily opted for?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a look at some of the alternatives that are out there that people might not necessarily think about immediately. We're looking at three very different products that people can go for. The first of which is a very community-based type of product. It's the credit union, which is quite an old-fashioned way of doing things, and it's really comes from what we would normally understand to be a building society. But these credit unions are operated at a much more local level, and they offer a fantastic alternative to the mainstream banks because they're run at a community level. They're dealt with by people within your own community. They all have what is known as a common bond.
Right.
And that bond can be anything. It could be that you're all a member of the same social club, for example. You could all live in the same area, or you could all be in the same union, such as some kind of trade union, for example, or even some kind of sporting union. The possibilities are endless. And Manchester, surprisingly, has 30 of these credit unions. And there's nothing to stop a community that doesn't have a credit union setting up a credit union. The advantages are, of course, that you're dealing with people rather than systems. And the interest rates are very, very favourable as well, often quite cheaper than the banks themselves. So they are a very good alternative.
Where does the money come from, though? Do the communities have to put some money in a pot and then you can dish it out as and when people need it? It's
much the same way that a building society or a bank operates. The money that they use to lend historically would come from the deposits. Now, of course, it's coming from the Bank of England and various other sources as well as we go through this quantitative easing process. So essentially, to join the credit union, you have to make a deposit into the credit union. And if you want to make use of the facilities, such as a personal loan, for example, you'd make an application, excuse me, much the same way you would through the conventional system, but rather than being told the computer says no, you're dealing with a person who will actually speak to you about your repayment options and actually talk you through the process. And it makes it much easier for you to deal with because you can actually place your case in front of an individual.
OK, Richard, so from common bonds to premium bonds, and it seems as though they've been around forever.
Yeah, and they're a fantastic way to invest your money and have an opportunity to win cash prizes. They're a fantastic alternative to the National Lottery. They're quite a bit more expensive than the National Lottery. A National Lottery ticket will cost you £1, but once you've spent that pound and you've lost your pound, you don't get it back. A premium bond minimum investment is £100, but at any time you can cash that bond back in and get your stake back, which is a very, very unusual form of gambling. I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that operates a system quite like the one that we have here in the UK. And there's 2 cash prizes every month of £1 million, and thousands of prizes that vary from £100,000 all the way down to £50. And once you've won your £1 million, you've still got your premium bond as well.
Right. Okay.
So the chances are in your favour then to win £1 million.
It keeps rolling on.
It keeps rolling on.
Giant rollover.
Yes, yeah, a massive rollover. The prize never exceeds £1 million for one particular individual, but I certainly wouldn't say no to a prize of £1 million if my premium bond numbers came up.
Are the odds more favourable than winning the lottery?
Yes, considerably more favourable, particularly for winning the smaller prizes. And they're a great way to gift cash to people as well. They're totally free of any kind of income tax or capital gains tax. And that includes the prize that you win as well. So if you win the £1 million, that's cash in the bank and the taxman gets nothing.
That's interesting. Just quickly before we move on to the third financial product that you brought for us, would you earn interest whilst your money's there, or does it always stay at the flat £100?
Yeah, it stays at the £100 or whatever your investment is. You don't actually pay interest. The prize is the alternative to the interest payment.
Sounds good. And finally, prepaid credit cards. Yeah,
these are not really that new, prepaid credit cards. They're better known as gift vouchers.
Right.
They're kind of like pay-as-you-go phone cards?
They're exactly the same principle, and that's really where they've taken it to the next level. Essentially, you get yourself a credit card, and in much the same way that a mobile phone is prepaid, it has that same chip within the card that we now see in all the debit cards and credit cards. You charge it up with the funds that you want to use. The advantages to having a prepaid credit card, if you're unable to obtain a credit card through the usual sources, are that you're able to make purchases on the internet, for example. So take advantages of the bargains and things that you wouldn't normally be able to take advantage of. Foreign travel as well. Ideal way of carrying currency into another country is on a prepaid credit card, if, again, you're unable to get a credit card through the normal channels. Of course, you're not paying interest or earning interest on the money that you've deposited on the card, and there are some service charges that are made for the use of the service, but they do vary from provider to provider. Two very good ones at the moment are both Virgin and Tesco.
I suppose as well it's a good way of keeping up with your finances, isn't it? Instead of budgeting and perhaps drawing the cash out so you've got it in your hand, if you put it on a card, there's no way physically that you can go over the limit that you've set.
Well, one of the tips that we often talk about is taking cash into the high street rather than using the debit card, and this does exactly the same thing. If you have £500 on the card, you can't spend anything else other than the £500. They're a great thing for parents to give to students, for example, who are going away as a bit of a slush fund, an emergency fund, pop £500 on the card. You're not having sleepless nights wondering if they're out partying with £1,000 as opposed to the 500 that you gave them, because it's there on the card. That's all they can use.
Good idea. I'll have to look into one of those. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, cheers for joining us again, sir. See you again soon. Actually, probably a little bit later this morning's programme.
I believe so.
OK, after the break, we have a flick through this morning's newspapers with Tom McAlpine, plus all the latest sports news with Mike Bradley at 7:30. See you soon.